What's going on, everyone? Had a great trade today to end the week, up around $1,000 on the day. Very clear long setup that was presented in the market right after the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Report. And I just wanted to walk you through everything from my trade thesis to my entries to my confirmations and my exits. So let's get into it. So yesterday we had this strong closure higher. We can see that we've been delivering from sell side to all-time highs. Uh, ES has been at the all-time highs, but NQ has been lagging behind a little bit. But today it finally got there, and today I thought was uh, the day where NQ would finally reach those all-time highs before market open. So just to start off, yesterday we had the move lower into internal sell side liquidity and then a shift higher. I didn't take a trade yesterday, but I just waited patiently and waited to see if there's going to be a setup for today, and there was. So coming into the day, when I got to the desk this morning, first thing I noticed is that the during the London session, London took out the Asia sell side liquidity and then shifted structure back to the upside, and then still left these all time highs intact. So, with that being said, since I know that London swept the Asia sell side liquidity and then shifted structure to the upside, I'm now expecting a New York expansion today. So, what I want to look for going into the day is at 9:30 open, as long as we do not take these all-time highs, our drawn liquidity, as long as we don't do that and we first sweep internal sell side liquidity first, I would be interested in a long. Now, just in like my previous video, before that happens, I want to recognize what we have on the data report today, the data release today at 10 a.m. We have prelim U of M consumer sentiment and inflation expectations. So, what I'm looking for is if by 10 a.m. we haven't taken the all-time highs yet, then I would still look for a trade. But if we did take the all-time highs at the data report, then I would just avoid the setup. So what we can see is that before the data release, uh, NQ made relatively equal highs at the 9:30 open with all-time highs. So now that I have even further confirmation of a smooth edge at all-time highs, I really like the setup for after the data release. So before the data release, we had manipulation into the sell side liquidity level that I was expecting to get ran before the real move. And then this is where the real patience came into play. Uh, we swept sell side liquidity around 940, and then it wasn't until this change in the state of delivery right here at 9:55, so waiting 15 minutes after the sell side liquidity had been rated, um, I had to wait patiently because none of my entry confirmations were presented yet. There was no inversion fair value gap. There was no change in the state of delivery. So the one thing that I was waiting for in this moment was we're either going to at 10 a.m. news sweep below here one more time and take this and then offer the internal setup, or we're going to take it before the news release and then rebalance back into equilibrium of this range during the news release and then go higher. And that's exactly what happened here. At 9:55, we had the closure above the change in the state of delivery. So now my mindset shifts from news is going to manipulate into sell side liquidity for us to move higher to now news is going to take us to the drawn liquidity. This is just one thing that I've noticed in my trading and all my back testing. If news takes liquidity, if there's no change in the state of delivery after the liquidity is swept before news, then news is going to manipulate into that liquidity level again and then change the state of delivery. But on the other hand, if the structure has already shifted before the news release, then the news release is going to take us to our draw on liquidity. And that's what we had today. So then now my reference point is okay, well, if if prices already changed structure to the upside for before the news release, where can I get in at the news release? And the one thing that I had here was a rebalance back into this balanced price range right here, at the 50% retracement at equilibrium. And then also we have some down close candles that we're still holding in, some lows that were right here. So I actually had a limit order set at uh, the 50% level right here, just a bit below it. Okay, with my stop loss right here, and then my target up at the highs around the 2-to-1 risk to reward. And then when news came in, we dropped down, ticked this perfectly. I actually ended up getting a better fill at around, instead of like the 24025s, I got a fill at the 2401975s, and I have my stop loss below here with a target up here. And then you can see we closed back above equilibrium and ended up eventually going to take those highs that were right there. We rebalanced a little bit. So I actually ended up taking my trade off at these highs right here, just because I wasn't sure if price was going to come back down, rebalance, and sweep. I took my stop loss, moved it to break even right here once we started getting up above these highs, and ES was getting closer to those highs as well. So ended up exiting for around a 1 to 2, but ultimately that buy side liquidity level was met. It's the same framework that I look for every single day. Higher time frame drawing liquidity, where the smooth edge is at in relation towards the drawing liquidity, manipulation in the opposing direction of the drawing liquidity, entry model. This week was a very tricky week. I took 2 trades this week because one trade ended up being break even because it was a good model, but it just ended up not working out, and ended up working out later in the session. And then the rest of the week, my system was just not presented. But today, on this Friday, my system was presented, so I made sure that I traded with confidence and just executed whenever I got my correct confirmations. But overall, great way to end the week. September is good. Kind of a slow month so far, just in terms of like setups that I've taken wise. But overall, this is a good way to end the week. I hope you guys traded safely. I hope you guys learned something from this video. And until next time, I'll talk to you guys later.